Far-right extremists spreading hate on our streets. A Welshman created the now banned terror group National Action. Tonight, we reveal how this ex-leader has been promoting a new underground group on the attack in Wales. We go undercover to investigate the tactics of the extreme far-right.
They want me to break the law. They want me to get their name in the headlines, and they don't care who gets hurt.
We secretly record a neo-Nazi recruiter giving orders.
Wear black clothes, hoodie, face mask, don't look into any cameras.
We head to Finland to discover how a neo-Nazi moved to a Welsh village, infiltrated the army, and tried to radicalise soldiers. And we look for answers from those who still want to see a white revolution. Gwyro Davies here from BBC Wales. A group of far-right extremists are targeting a new recruit. They say they want foot soldiers. Activists who will take to the streets and help them rid Wales of Muslims, Jews, non-whites and gays. He is our undercover journalist. They are System Resistance Network, an underground group being hunted by police.
They want me to break the law, to incite racial hatred, and basically sow fear and division.
SRN recruits through online propaganda. They have zero tolerance for non-whites. They call homosexuality a disease, and in one hate-filled video claim that AIDS is a cure. SRN's been targeting South Wales for the last year. This follower has just set fire to a Masonic hall. He daubed graffiti over schools, a university and a church. Images were posted online by SRN. For months, our undercover journalist has been communicating with them.
I've created a fake online profile and persuaded them I want to join. To get to SRN, I've had to enter the online world of the far right. It starts on mainstream social media platforms, but quickly gets more and more extreme. You can literally feed off this stuff day and night. You can read about it, listen to it, or even play video games dedicated to the cause.
Online, our journalist is posing as a university dropout with far-right views.
They're looking for bright, disaffected people who are angry enough to join a movement which promises to change things.
SRN has hundreds of online followers, but he wants to meet them face to face. Tonight, we expose the group's recruitment tactics and go in search of the people behind SRN. We also reveal the support the group has been receiving from the Welshman here in Swansea, who set up the first extreme far-right terror group to be outlawed in Britain. Police and campaigners believe SRN was inspired by the now banned terror group National Action. This is the founder, Alex Davis. He created National Action when he was just 18. Raised in Swansea, he was a hardened neo-Nazi by the time he left school. Set up 5 years ago, it rapidly became the UK's most dangerous extreme far-right group. This is Ben Raymond. He was Alex Davis's media man. They used online propaganda to find new recruits. Raymond moved to Swansea, where with Alex Davis, the messages became more sinister. But from some of their followers, there was more than talk. With the hate came violence. One follower in North Wales, Zach Davis, tried killing a Sikh dentist with a machete. And when MP Jo Cox was murdered 2 years ago, National Action glorified her killer. That led to them being proscribed, making continued membership or support illegal. But the ban hasn't stopped Alex Davis's ambitions for a free white Britain.
The young nationalists in this country are still here. We are unperturbed, and we will move forward, regardless of the cost.
You're listening to Radio Aryan.
And Alex Davis has been on Radio, a neo-Nazi station which is littered with racist and homophobic content. This is him promoting System Resistance Network, or SRN.
The propaganda they put out, it even makes me blush. It is over the line, legally speaking, I would say. But all in all, you know, I think they're putting out a solid National Socialist message. Is really, you know, it's really good.
He told listeners how to follow SRN, the latest neo-Nazi activist group, online. Less than 2 weeks later, this happened. SRN posters and graffiti were found in a Cardiff park ahead of an anti-racism demo. MP Stephen Doughty joined the march.
To actually see swastikas being daubed on the streets of Grangetown in particular was, I think, a hugely shocking thing for local residents. I think it's been a wake-up call for a lot of people that these groups are operating in our communities and that we need to work together to fight them.
But Alex Davis then went back on Radio Aryan to congratulate SRN for getting neo-Nazis in the headlines.
As long as there is some sign of resistance there, there's hope. You know, it's like a fire. You know, as long as you've got some embers burning, all you need is to put a little bit more fuel on that fire and it can turn into something quite big very quickly.
Just over a year ago, here in Swansea, the police arrested Alex Davis and Ben Raymond on suspicion of continued membership of National Action. They've not been charged. But some National Action followers were, after taking the group underground. 10 people have been convicted this year. Among them were student Alex Deakin and soldier Mikko Vehviläinen. Their trials gave a chilling insight into their violent neo-Nazi world. Some were stockpiling weapons, their aim to create a whites-only Britain. And one who infiltrated the British Army wanted to recruit fellow extremists to help set up neo-Nazi communities across Wales. In the heart of rural Montgomeryshire, Llansilin is a welcoming village. When Vehviläinen moved in, locals didn't suspect a thing. Hello Vera, how are you?
Pleased to meet you.
Can I come in? Vera first met him when he started renovating his cottage. How often did he come up to work on the house then?
But it was only a weekend because he said he had to get, because he was in the army, wasn't he?
Finnish national Mikko Vehviläinen was a lance corporal, a fitness instructor based in Sennybridge. He said his wife and children would be moving in.
When he came first, somebody said, gosh, he's come a long way, what's he coming here for? But nobody thought no more, you see.
But Vehviläinen was still an active member of National Action. Counter-terror police raided the cottage after discovering he was now operating underground with other members in the Midlands.
He was a neo-Nazi, he was a white supremacist, he was someone who had access to high-powered crossbows, throwing knives. He was committed to violence and committed to an ideology of hate. But their plan to wage a race war, to acquire weaponry, to promote violent extremism was undiminished.
Police found National Action leaflets and uncovered secret online conversations between Vehviläinen and other extreme far-right supporters. In one, he offered to let them use his home for meetings and said that Welsh villages like this one, with relatively cheap properties for sale, were ripe for turning into national socialist communities. In Senny Bridge, at his married quarters, more Nazi paraphernalia and weapons. In a message, Vehviläinen said that black people were not worthy of life and he could shoot their children and feel nothing.
They were using encrypted apps to send messages to each other. They are learning from other terrorist organisations how to communicate, how to radicalise.
Vehviläinen urged other neo-Nazis to join the army.
They had access to lots of young, influential young men who would join the army, who could be persuaded, could be radicalised to follow the neo-Nazi ideology. So incredibly dangerous individual.
Police spotted Vehviläinen at this National Action demo before the ban, a serving soldier on the side of neo-Nazis. We've discovered he has a long and disturbing history as a Hitler-loving white supremacist. We've tracked down the former leader of the neo-Nazi Finnish resistance movement, which Vehviläinen joined long before he became a soldier. And I'm heading to Finland, where the neo-Nazi Nordic resistance movement, which National Action modelled itself on, has been outlawed. I'm meeting Esa Halapa, who says he helped radicalise Vehviläinen online after meeting him in an extremist chat room 15 years ago.
Mikko Vehviläinen was a hateful person, willing to fight and struggle for his ideas and maybe even take another step, what he believes in. The ideologies that he followed is openly saying certain people need to be exterminated and killed in order to achieve the white revolution, white victory.
National Action's co-founder Ben Raymond travelled to Finland to help build links with neo-Nazi groups across Europe. Esa Halapa was one of Finland's leading neo-Nazis until turning his back on the movement 3 years ago after becoming disillusioned. He admits influencing Vehviläinen.
I had written a lot of articles promoting Nazism, so I do believe that I have, of course, had my part in radicalizing him, of course.
Given that Vehviläinen was such an open and committed neo-Nazi while living here in his native Finland, the big question is, how was he able to join the British Army in the first place?
If we have a person who has a long background with extremist movements, I'm sure that some intelligence services might have picked up his name somewhere.
Vehviläinen tried recruiting fellow soldiers. He boasted in text messages about finding sympathisers. According to Halapa, racist groups are actively seeking to infiltrate the army.
Of course, it is alarming too that a person having these views and having these connections is able to, if I just say it like this, walk in the British military.
The army said it couldn't tell us how Vehviläinen became a soldier. It says it does vet recruits for convictions or links to extremist groups and has robust measures to ensure those showing extremist views aren't tolerated or permitted to serve. Vehviläinen was plotting alongside this man, former Aberystwyth University student Alex Deakin. He's one of 10 National Action supporters convicted earlier this year. Here, doing a Nazi salute alongside Ben Raymond at a National Action demo before the ban. And he was in Swansea in 2016 at the White Pride demo, again with Ben Raymond. But after prescription, Deakin, who's from the Midlands, kept looking for new blood.
Their aim was to just keep radicalising, recruiting, growing, but bringing in the skills they wanted.
Deakin's plans became more and more violent. He suggested setting up death squads and wrote that all Jewish people should be burned. In one secret message, Deakin said that despite the ban on national action, Ben Raymond was designing stickers for all the ex-National Action groups, and that any ideas for new ones should be sent to him. Ben Raymond said that Deakin was speaking for himself, without his knowledge or consent. Our undercover journalist has befriended Ben Raymond online.
Well, these days he calls himself an artist. He sent me a few pictures. I was quite shocked to see the sort of artwork that he was producing, recreating images of Dr. Mengele and Adolf Hitler. I think it's his idea of a joke, but it's actually a reference to murdered Jews being turned into soap in the Holocaust.
He denies it's a sick joke. He calls it satire, just like the extreme far-right computer game he shared on Facebook.
He shared a news article about it, saying how controversial it was, but in his comments and in his original post, he was sort of praising the guys that made it and encouraging people to download it.
So what's the purpose of the game?
You start off by killing anti-fascists, and then as you move through the levels, the different enemies change to sort of blacks, Jews, gays, Muslims.
After his arrest in September last year, he made a film warning far-right suspects not to cooperate with police.
Respond to all questions with no comment.
Raymond says it's the same advice that solicitors give to political prisoners.
And hail victory.
And since his arrest, our journalist found Alex Davis continuing to push extremism online.
You're listening to Radio Aryan.
In one episode, I heard Alex Davis promote a new far-right website called England Lives.
If you're a budding writer and you want to become a journalist or whatever, maybe send in a couple of articles to them and try and support that website.
It glorified killer Darren Osborne from Cardiff, who drove a van into a worshipper at a mosque in Finsbury. It was full of racist stuff, really vile language.
Like many extreme far-right websites, the people behind them are hidden. Those hunting extremists in Wales know that online is a big challenge.
The sort of ideology and intention hasn't changed. It's the tools that are available now for criminality in all its forms to exploit. What I'd say, though, is that it's also an opportunity for us to investigate, and it doesn't matter whether people are trying to radicalise online or offline. If the offence is there, then we'll investigate it and we'll bring people to justice.
Our undercover journalist says SRN tell him and others to use encrypted messaging. They know police are onto them.
We know that they have more than 200 followers on social media. But what we don't know is how many of them are willing to break the law for the cause.
This man is one of them. In the early hours in Newport, he attacked buildings and vandalised a church in the name of SRN, but was caught on CCTV.
It showed a person dressed all in black with his face covered to put posters and obviously a stencil with a spray can, putting the swastikas, 2 swastikas on there. So it was quite clear, but you obviously couldn't see the person's face. He was quite pleased with his work because he stood back and took some photographs of it. So obviously he wanted to show this off.
Pastor cleverly believes the church was targeted because it supports asylum seekers and refugees. This was the man behind the mask, 23-year-old Austin Ross. He had no previous convictions. When the police caught him, he admitted the attacks, but he refused to answer their questions about SRN.
When we searched his house, we found a stencil kit there for a swastika that was identified, and that's what he used on a number of occasions. He just wanted to get a message out there that most people in our society, thankfully, find disgusting and abhorrent.
2 months after contacting our undercover journalist, SRN got back in touch. They want to interview him online.
They've sent me a message asking about my physical fitness. What means of transport do I have? Do I have any mental or physical disabilities? And at any stage, they could turn a webcam on. So I bought one of these to hide my identity. It's what they wear in their videos.
They begin by typing questions.
Well, I'm not going to give you my real name for obvious reasons. I don't know who you are, but I'm 24. I live in South Wales. I've seen your propaganda. I've seen your posters, and I really relate to that. You're interested, okay, good. So what's the next steps? What's the next stages now? What do I do?
He's instructed to put up 20 SRN propaganda posters in the community.
Is there going to be anyone else that would go out with me? Do I go on my own?
Suddenly, they want to speak.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, basically, just wear black clothes, hoodie, face mask, don't look at 20 cameras, and just stick up 20 odd posters.
Okay.
Have a plan from where you're going to go home, go there. Probably do it after like 1 o'clock, once it's properly blackout.
Okay.
Is that clear enough?
Yeah, how does this work now? You know, once I've done it, what do I do?
Take some pictures, send them to me, just to show you've done it, and then I'll leave you to do a bit of reading, and we'll go to the next stage and see about full membership.
What's full membership?
Bring you along to stuff, and I'll actually tell you stuff.
Okay, what sort of stuff is it, you know?
Well, you'll find out when you're a full member.
He told him to read extremist material and Hitler's Mein Kampf.
Is there anyone in South Wales that I can link up with or meet with?
Well, you'll have to be a member first, which way. So this is like an initiation. You do it on your own. Everybody does it on their own. Where did you hear about us?
I've heard your name on podcasts on Radio Area. I've also seen you. I've seen you guys online.
Cool.
Austin Ross was the first person to be jailed in the name of SRN. He got 6 years. His family said they had no idea of his links to the group, and they're devastated by what's happened.
We go into schools and we educate young people.
For nearly 2 decades, Nigel Bromage was a neo-Nazi recruiter. He's since turned his back on the extreme far right and now warns communities about the dangers. And he says that SRN know exactly what could happen to followers like Austin Ross.
Some sort of organise or treat people who get involved as just cannon fodder. You know, they'll be used and they'll sit back and they'll protect their own identity and won't get their hands dirty in direct action.
He says for recruiters, the internet is a powerful weapon.
The amount of people now recruited online for us is around 70%. It took me 15 years to embrace violence as a way forward, whereas now, within 12 months, can go from somebody who's somebody with genuine concerns through to a nationalist, and all of a sudden, at the end of 12 months, is a hardcore neo-Nazi.
Hours after speaking to SRN, they emailed us the posters they wanted us to put up for our initiation.
He's asked me to go out and commit acts of vandalism which incite racial hatred.
We didn't do what they wanted, but we sent SRN images suggesting that we had. After that, communication came to an end. Spreading or inciting racial hatred is a crime. In mid-Wales, Vevelainen won't be returning to the village he wanted to turn into a neo-Nazi zone. He was jailed for 8 years and discharged from the army. Alex Deakin got 9 years.
You're listening to Radio Aryan.
But on Radio Aryan, they're called prisoners of war, and Ben Raymond has been on to rally support for jailed racists.
These people are very intellectual people. You can send them books. If they have books, what you're doing is you're turning a horrifically bad situation into what Hitler called his greatest education at the expense of the state.
We wanted to interview the man behind Radio Aryan. He calls himself Sven Longshanks and runs a chat room where, among other things, we found members mocking the Grenfell disaster. He's refused to speak to us, but he did email us denying any wrongdoing and said that Radio Aryan was for nationalists to listen to in the privacy of their own homes. He also said he wasn't responsible for anything that Alex Davis or Ben Raymond may have said on his programmes. And what about Ben Raymond and Alex Davis? They've been under police investigation for 15 months. Is it not of concern to you that Alex Davis has been promoting SRN through an online radio network?
Absolutely. So extreme right-wing activity in any form, whether it's as part of a prescribed organisation or, in terms of a much looser network, is extremely concerning. Where we have evidence of that taking place, we'll always investigate. If people are broadcasting hate messages and there's a criminal law that's breached, then we'll investigate and prosecute. There's nowhere to hide.
They believe they have a right to their views and to free speech. But MP Stephen Doughty, who sits on the Commons Home Affairs Committee, has reported Radio Aryan and comments made to the police.
This is free speech that is to damage the rights of others. You can't have liberty to impinge on the liberty of others. And I think a lot of these organisations hide behind that, when in reality they're allowing some disgusting and hateful content to exist.
He's asking the Westminster government to outlaw System Resistance Network.
We need to have a much quicker process for looking at the prescription of organisations, and I understand the due processes that have to go on, but sometimes we do wait a long time before action is taken. But it's also about, I think, penalties for technology and internet companies that continue to host this content.
Security Minister Ben Wallace thanked us for our investigation. He said the government will not hesitate to proscribe any organisation that poses a threat. It's working on tackling extremist propaganda online. And this winter, further measures to combat the threat will be published. We wanted to ask Alex Davis why he promoted SRN and other hate sites on Radio Aryan. We know he's been living here in Swansea. We were told he's moved on. No one can tell us where he's gone. We've tried to contact him online too, but he's simply not responded. What about Ben Raymond? He refused to be interviewed and didn't answer all of our questions, so I'm going to see if I can get some answers. Hello, Mr. Raymond. Is Gwera Davis here from BBC Wales? We spotted someone at an upstairs window. He's still refusing to answer specific questions we have for him. Why is he continuing to call for support for people who are now convicted racists? And SRN. 2 months ago, anti-terror police investigating graffiti in Cardiff arrested a man. But tonight, the group is still out there peddling hate. The hunt for those behind what may become Britain's next banned terrorist group continues. So will the fight against the threat of extremism on the streets and online.
Next on BBC One Wales, Nadia Hussain embarks on her Asian odyssey.